What's going on, everybody? So, as a child, I remember seeing like little snippets of this movie, like, just randomly, and I just hear all these notorious stories about it just all the time. But after watching it again as an adult, this movie's fucking weird. Because it falls into that category of so bad that it's good and you can't look away. It's like a car crash in that way. Now, this whole movie is tonally weird, and there's a lot of like goofy acting in it, and a lot of just like weird shit that you're just like, why is that there? Or why does that look a certain way? There's just, you ask so many questions about like, how the fuck did they make this movie? And there's some things that are just like flat out awful. Like the pacing of this movie makes zero sense whatsoever. Like the pacing makes you feel like a fucking turtle for the first hour because it's like super slow, but it's like visually appealing. So it's like you're still in it. And then the last hour of the movie is just like you jumping off a fucking cliff. Like it goes so fucking fast. But I'm assuming that's a product of this being like a big budget movie in the studio, like, stuck their hands too far into it. Because this is a David Lynch movie and he's a fucking weird, fucking insane movie director. And you can feel his stamp on the movie, but he didn't even allow his name to be in the opening credits because he was so like embarrassed by it, and like he didn't have like final cut, like he didn't have final say so over how the movie would come out, and it really shows. The one thing I will say about this movie that is like absolutely awesome, this movie is like visually stunning. Like even to this day, like I was kind of wowed by the way like all the costumes looked and like just the design of everything. Like it was like super creative and like imaginative. Like if they have like a book of like concept art from Dune, I would buy the shit out of that because there is like so much like intricacies to like all the stuff that you see on screen. And there's just like really weird things. Like there's like a regulation guild, but it's like this being is like this wormy fetusy looking thing. And he's got like a bunch of midgets dressed in like black armor, like moving him around. Like there's just a lot of like goofy weird shit like that. And like there's these priestesses in the movie that have like partially shaved heads, and it's like it looks weird, but it's like you can't look away. And the whole plot of the movie is actually like really interesting because it's very much like a commentary about like oil money, because it all centers around this planet that is like surnamed Dune, and it has this particular resource which is like a metaphor for oil, and it's just like the most valuable resource like in the galaxy. And the whole movie is basically a squabble between two like warring families over who controls the planet, and it's got this kind of like Cold War-esque feeling to it because there's a lot of tension between the two houses. And the main character Paul is alleged to be like this messiah that will lead people to the promised land or some shit like that. I can't tell you exactly what he was, but that wasn't really totally fleshed out. And they use familiar terms like jihad and holy war, just like weird things that are like kind of alluding to the Middle East. I'm not really sure what the metaphor was about the sandworms, but if you got any theories, throw them out there. And like the acting is really weird sometimes. Like it's not bad, it's just odd. And the only actors that most people probably recognize is Patrick Stewart's in it and Sting from The Police, who is actually not a bad actor. If you've seen Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, like Sting's actually pretty good in that movie. But anyway, in this movie, he's just as weird as everybody else. And he's got spiky orange hair like he's in Super Saiyan mode. It's really off. And just some of the choices for like the way that people looked, like the kind of like maesters of the universe have like gigantic eyebrows and like red lips. There's so much weird shit in this movie. Like if there was a scale from 1 to 10, it would be like 47. Like it's almost impossible for me to hate this movie because of how like inventive and creatively weird it is. But it's like the movie makes you feel things that like you don't have a name for those emotions yet. Like humanity has not reached that level of consciousness. And I don't know whose idea it was to do like inner monologues for everybody, but like literally every character in the movie has like a voice in their head that you hear. It's like everybody's a narrator. And it like pops in at weird times because there'll be like 3 people on a screen and one person's having an inner monologue. You're like, wait, which person just said that? Like, oh wait, nobody said it. Somebody was just thinking it. So that kind of throws you off every once in a while. The music in the movie's really hit or miss. Like the main theme is really good and it's kind of catchy. It's like very like dreary, like almost scary kind of. And it repeats throughout the movie, but like, and then there's other times where like the music just like sucks, like it's just useless, and like really like the last 10 minutes of movie, I won't spoil anything, but it just felt like a giant painting where people just threw 50 different colors at once. Like the movie kind of felt like, how you're going downstairs in the dark and you think there's like 2 or 3 more steps, but there's not, so you're just like, oh my fucking god, I'm already at the bottom. That's what the ending felt like to me. Like it just went into like hyper speed for the last couple of minutes and it was just kind of like rushed and it felt weird. But honestly, despite that, I still kind of liked this movie despite how god awfully weird it was. Like it's still like this spectacle that you just like like can't look away from. There's a couple of like CGI effects that are like a little bit dated, but like everything else in the movie visually is like really, really fucking intense and like really well shot. But I feel like if you haven't read the books, there's a lot of shit that you don't get, because there was a couple things that I really just did not understand. But I will go out on a limb and say that if you're a movie fan, you have to like watch this at least once just to say that you saw it, because if you find another person that's seen Dune, you can literally talk about it for like 6 hours. Like there's so much subject matter for you to like compare and contrast with other people. Like this, like it'll hit everybody a completely different way. Like nobody will have like the exact same thing to say about it, because you can tell that this is like from the 80s, but it's still like innovative as fuck in certain aspects. So for that, I actually have to give it some credit, because it makes you feel things and it like brings something out in you, and that's kind of what art does. Like this movie is truly a work of art. Whether it's good art is kind of subjective. Despite all of its faults and weirdness, like I think this movie gets a good 7.3, and I almost want to watch it again because it's so fucking weird. This might not be your favorite movie, this might not be the worst movie ever made, but this is one of those movies that you have to fucking watch. And if they do make a series out of this, I feel like they could really do something cool. Because it seems like there's like this rich mythology in the Dune universe that like I don't think they could have accomplished in just this one movie, so I think that was one of the faults of it. But either way, super interesting. Check it out. Just give it a whirl, see how you feel about it. But anyway, that's all I have to say about it. What do you have to say about it? Hop in the comments, let me know how you feel about this movie. Other than that, if you like this video, drop me a like, subscribe, do all that other bullshit, and I will catch you guys later.